I am LaMarsha Lewis. Let's talk. July the 3rd, 2021, which is Saturday. This will be just a short and brief commentary. I have been tending to do it, but because of work and various things, and then with YouTube seeming to not upload some of my commentary, it's just been difficult in doing commentary. But I'm not giving up on the fight. I'm not giving up on the dream, the admiration for this platform to grow. As we learned, the now white police officer, who's no longer a police officer, Derek Chauvin, who killed George Floyd last year in Minnesota by having his knee on George Floyd's neck for basically 9 minutes. He was sentenced. The judge gave him 22.5 years for the murder of George Floyd. And as stated by members of family of George Floyd, they have been given a lifetime sentence, meaning the life that their family member, their brother, their son, and his daughter's father is no longer there. I am thankful for this sentences, 22.5 years. I do hope he served all of that. I was really concerned once we had heard about the verdict was guilty when he had his trial, and upon hearing that they did find him guilty, then my concern became what kind of sentences would he get, because we so often see how these judges still don't hold people like police officers that commit murder, especially when the murder is of people of color. We saw how George Zimmerman got off with killing a young child, Trey Martin, and just so many others. Amar, that was killed by these two white men when he was just simply jogging. Just so many blacks, most black men. Eric, I could go on and on with people of color that have been killed by people that's supposed to be the people who took an oath to serve and protect, but yet they abuse their position. They abuse their power, and most of them often get off with no accountability of taking a life, of doing harm, of abuse of power, and all of that. But it's because of people stood up. 2020, yes, we have been in a lockdown with this pandemic. COVID has taken over 500,000 plus lives and continues to do that. We're still in fact. But 2020, black Americans, one, we went to the polls, we made our voice heard, we elected a Democratic president, Joe Biden, and with that came the first vice president being a woman of color, made our voices heard, and it counted at the ballot box. The state of Georgia, people stepped up with the Democrat, elected 2 Democratic senators, and people went into the street and said, we are tired. And hear me well, and this remains, we are tired. We are tired of the treatment and the unfairness of people of color. And they stood unanimously together, and we still stand together. So I was glad that this verdict came where the judge gave 22.5 years. Let's listen to this clip. Also, let me give my disclaimer, because YouTube has really become something else. So I want to give my disclaimer. Disclaimer, fair use. I am LaMarsha Lewis. Let's Talk YouTube channel is a news reporting site covered under copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of Copyright Act 1976. Allowance made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research without the need for permission from or payment to the copyright holder. That is my disclaimer. And we will now, let's listen to Derek being sentenced, the man who murdered George Floyd.
Sentence for count 1. The court commits you to the custody of the Commissioner of Corrections for a period of 270 months. That's 270. That is a 10-year addition to the presumptive sentence of 150 months. This is based on your abuse of a position of trust and authority, and also the particular cruelty shown to George Floyd. You were granted credit for 199 days already served. Pay the mandatory surcharge of $78 to be paid from prison wages. You're prohibited from possessing firearms, ammunition, or explosives for the remainder of your life. Provide a DNA sample as required by law. Register as a predatory offender as required by law. And then you will receive a copy of the order and also the attached memorandum explaining the court's analysis. Anything further from the state?
If this needs to be said, we just ask that it be executed forthwith.
Defendant is remanded to the custody of the sheriff to be transported back to the DOC or whichever custody is currently holding. Anything from the defense?
We are.
All right. Thank you. We are adjourned.
And with that, we was able to say for the first time that I can recall, when someone of color has been so brutally killed at the hands of a cop or someone that took power in their own hands. I was happy with that sentences, and again, hopefully he will serve. I just want to know now, and I wonder how he feels, because he sat there with his hands in his pockets as that man cried out he couldn't breathe, and then finally stopped breathing. Body fluids came. They say he called out for his mother, but yet this white police officer sat there smug. He didn't speak. I was told in his trial, they said upon the sentencing, he did supposedly try to give, in my opinion, a fake apology to the family. See, a little too late, and the only reason he did that was trying to save his own ass. That's what that was about, because they still are saying he felt like he shouldn't have been given this sentence. He basically should be given probation, or it should have basically been, like the judge give a mistrial, or just, nothing where he would have been held accountable. But we shall see how things go. I just wanted to do, again, quick commentary and wonder, how does it feel now when the roles have reversed? A white man that has been a police officer now is to serve prison time for the murder that he committed by having his foot on the neck of the late George Floyd. I'm LaMarsha Lewis. Let's talk.